This video is brought to you by Audible. So first of all, I hope this game doesn't mean the end of V1 Interactive. This is a newly formed studio and they've put over 3 years of work into this project. They've spoken openly about their effort to create a development environment free of crunch, which is something to be commended since crunch is just super common across the industry and really destructive. The studio was also founded by Marcus Lido, one of the co-creators of the Halo franchise, which is a pretty nice line item on a video game developer's CV. No matter what happens with Disintegration, I hope this studio goes on to make another game, because it would be a genuine shame if their maiden game was also their last. I say all of this because Disintegration really blows, and it blows at such a fundamental level that there's no amount of patching or updating that can fix what's broken here. Marcus Lido came from Bungie, the studio that famously coined the 30-second loop idea of game development. I've spoken about it a lot in my videos, but if you haven't heard of it before, it's the idea that games development is essentially about finding about 30 seconds worth of fun and then stretching that out to however many hours your game needs to be. Almost every game you love can be broken down this way, from Tetris to Mario to God of War to Minecraft. All of the core gameplay you experience is just variations on that 30-second loop. The irony of Disintegration's failure is that it's the brainchild of one of the Halo co-creators, and it just never ever manages to find a compelling 30-second loop. Every component that goes into that loop is compromised, and the sum of the whole is less than zero.
Prioritize. Focusing fire. One area down.
Disintegration sees you playing as Roma, a totally not exo dude who pilots a grab cycle, which is basically an agile hovercraft that floats over the battlefield and does very little. The grab cycle is as flimsy as balsa wood and has all the destructive power of a stiff breeze. Your true offensive capability comes from commanding a squad of up to 4 ground units who all look suspiciously like javelins from, you know, that other robot game. Disintegration is a sort of first-person shooter real-time strategy hybrid. You do fire your grab cycle's weapons in first person, and you do command troops as you would in a real-time strategy game. It's an interesting idea. It took me back to my memories of one of my favorite games ever, the criminally overlooked and long forgotten Sacrifice from Shiny Entertainment, a game that thoroughly nailed a more intimate format for RTS than we'd ever seen before and we've never seen since.
Your creatures are under attack.
Disintegration hedges its bets between first-person shooting and tactical command in a way that sees neither land effectively. When it comes to your own arsenal, it's shocking how ineffective it feels. Every single enemy you encounter feels like a bullet sponge when you try to take it out on your own without the assistance of your squad. Obviously, this was intentional so as to get you focusing on the command aspect of the game, but the weapon balancing is so off that you feel genuinely frustrated as you try to cling to what little personal agency you have as a combatant. It feels like playing a looter shooter when you set the difficulty too high and every enemy is just a bullet sponge, invulnerable meat sack of endless hit points. Something I mentioned in my preview of the game is that you just spend so much time reloading because your weapon damage is low and your magazines are so small. That has not been updated since I spoke about it, and shooting stuff in Disintegration feels like Reload Simulator 2020 rather than the action-packed combat experience it should be. As bad as all this sounds, commanding your troops is way worse. You can tell them where to move and what to attack, but you can't give those orders on a per unit basis. This means that I can't tell my gunner to take cover somewhere or my ground slamming melee dude to just go full frontal assault. Everyone moves together. You can also tell them what to attack, but again, you can't issue specific attack orders to your troops. If you're ordering your units to attack a flying enemy and you have a melee squad member, he'll just awkwardly stand underneath the flying unit just chilling out because there is nothing he can do. There are abilities that you can deploy such as grenades and slow fields and mortar strikes. These are fine, but they're such blunt instruments. Rather than more elegant utility-based abilities that would allow for more strategic depth, the abilities are just like click, haha, robot go boom, that's it. And they're on such massive cooldowns that they're never up when you want them to be. I spoke at the beginning of this whole 30-second loop thing. Here's the thing. I know what this game is trying to do. I see it, I definitely get where they're going with this, but this is a title that just reeks of not having been playtested enough early enough in the design phase so that they could arrive at that really solid 30-second loop. It's clear that the shooting, the reloading, the troop commanding, the abilities, the general flow of combat, it just doesn't work. And there's no way that the development of this game should have progressed as far as it did when there are so many issues baked into that core 30 seconds. And these are just the foundational issues. There's tons of little annoyances piled on top of that. I think that's best demonstrated here with this one mission, which just serves up example after example. I mean, there's a genuine challenge seeing enemies a lot of the time since they're such tiny little ants when you're kind of flying over them. And sometimes they're even the same color as the terrain, so they're sort of camouflaged. Here you're seeing enemies that just kind of spawn in suddenly from all directions at the same time. No warning, no drop ships, just bam, enemies everywhere. So in a split second, I've gone from being in control of battle to being completely overwhelmed and confused. Next up, I encounter one of these jammers, and what this does is it actually disables both my weapons and my boost, so I literally can't do anything other than command my troops, which is so boring and so frustrating, and the game does this all the time. Here you can see my teammate is trying to attack an enemy, and he's just doing absolutely nothing. That's very standard. There's like enemy AI that just bugged out here, and he's just doing nothing. He's standing there. Then I get into some trouble, so I try and like fly away, and I bump into an invisible wall here. And then there's the looting of stuff. So when combat ends, you kind of have to like fly around to these boxes, and you have to enter search mode, and then you click on the box, and then your troop runs up to it, and then they put like a bomb on it, and that takes 1 or 2 seconds to explode, and then you have to stand there and hoover up all of the salvage, because if you're not there, the salvage doesn't get collected, because apparently your troops can't collect salvage. So you spend like a third of your missions just standing on top of boxes waiting for your troops to open them up, like you're playing some kind of like mobile game loot box extravaganza. There's a boss in this game, and I really hope you like him, because you will be fighting him like 10 times, maybe more. And he goes invulnerable, and then you need to like get up under his armpit to shoot him, and you can't command your troops to shoot this armpit because the AI isn't programmed to be able to target this specific thing. It's just, oh man, it's look, okay. So look, there's a lot wrong here. Like a lot, but there's also some good things as well, and I want to call those out. The game ran beautifully for me with no frame dropping at all and no crashing. I was genuinely impressed with its stability and performance on PC. I haven't tested it on consoles. I also think that the production value is actually more than what I would have expected. Some of the levels can look quite striking with some really impressive areas and beautiful skyboxes that sort of did make me sit up at times and go, huh, not bad. The developers also do their best to vary missions when they can. Most missions are set outside in large open areas and you just shoot everything, but there's one memorable mission where you kind of have to go into a prison to break out some new squad members. Some of the mission objectives are interesting for the first time you encounter them, but are soon run into the ground as they continue to reuse the same objectives and mechanics over and over. What I find really weird about this game are the cutscenes. Now take a look at these.
All you have to do is walk away. Just disappear.
You see, Chuck, that's the thing. I don't want to disappear. And the only freedom I want is with these people. My allies. My friends.
Now, it isn't cheap to put stuff like this together. Cutscenes like this with proper professional voice actors and impressive visuals, they eat up a lot of budget, okay? Now, take a look at the hub area that I'm dropped into between each mission.
At the end of a hard day on my feet, I would treat my weary body to a long, hot bath.
These hub areas look like dev build quality spaces. I mean, they don't even have any music, they barely have any ambient sound, nothing moves. They look honestly like placeholder, right? Here's my theory about this game. I think this team was making something to play in the kind of AA space, trying to stand up a new IP. You know, they got like a bucket of money to do it. But as they got closer to launch and the higher ups could see that the core of this game just wasn't there and that this wasn't going to be a commercial hit, someone turned the faucet off. I mean, this is a game where you have this squad of robots who all have different stats and abilities, but you can't choose who to bring with you into each mission. You yourself as a pilot have a range of weapons and abilities that you can use, but again, you never get to choose your own loadout. Everything is pre-assigned to you before you go into a mission. Like, why is that? It just feels like this game has had the rug pulled out from under it in the final stretch towards launch. The level design and cutscenes speak to a game that had some real money behind it, but the huge number of missing and incomplete features tells me that the money was either misallocated or simply vanished. There is a multiplayer mode. I played it during the beta. I did not enjoy it then, and I have absolutely no interest in playing any more of it now. Furthermore, I can guarantee you that given the critical reception to this game and the issues I've seen, this is not going to achieve a thriving online community. If you're watching this review a few months from now, expect the multiplayer servers to be completely dried up and empty by that time. So, that's Disintegration. It's not good, and I absolutely cannot recommend it to you. I genuinely wish the best for the developers for the future, but the next go around will probably need to be entirely new IP all over again, because there really isn't much here that's worth salvaging. Guys, if there's one thing that I simply could not live without, it would be Audible. Audible has the world's largest selection of audiobooks and audio entertainment, including Audible Originals. Audible Originals are stories created exclusively for audio, including documentaries, exclusive audiobooks, and scripted shows that you can't hear anywhere else. It's not just the originals though. Audible has a gigantic library of new and classic titles spanning every genre you can think of. Personally, I've been diving deep into the work of Joseph Campbell, one of the most influential writers of his generation, for the way he unpacked mythology and the hero's journey. Basically, you don't get Star Wars without the likes of Joseph Campbell. Just this week, Audible released Correspondence 1927 to 87, which is literally just a collection of his letters to other people. I know this sounds super nerdy, but I don't care. I had no idea this title was coming to Audible, so when it came up as a suggestion, I was a very happy man. Start listening with a 30-day Audible trial. Choose one audiobook and 2 Audible originals absolutely free. Visit audible.com/skillup or text skillup to 500 500. Thanks Audible for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.